So we are back in the shop. It is raining out, and that kind of sucks because I wanted to go outside and work on this trailer. So we're not working on the lawnmower today. This is a new series what we're starting. We're going to still work on the lawnmower. We're going to be uploading the slam lawnmower, but we got a new series that I'm working on. We're building a concession trailer. This is going to be part one of the concession trailer. Although I don't know how long this is going to be because we just started on it. It's pouring rain. I was going to go outside and shoot a video, but I ain't going to go outside in the rain. If it lets up later, maybe we'll go out and shoot some video of it out there. But anyways, what we got in here is, I'm going to flip this camera around, show what we're working on, and let you know what we're going to do with this thing. Alright guys, there's my lawnmower there, my slam lawnmower. There'll be a video coming out on that here in a couple days. But what we got up on the bench is some leaf springs. So we pulled these leaf springs off. I pulled the axle off, took a wire brush, and I wire brushed them down. We're getting ready to paint those. I got my, I don't know what they're called. Slipping my mind right now. And we took out there's these plugs that go in the holes up here for the bolts to go through. Pulled all those out so we can paint them springs. We're going to paint that. We got the axle sitting here, and I just got done painting this. Looks brand new, looks pretty good. Still wet, I just painted it like I said. We'll let this thing dry. My plan was to get this thing painted and get it back on the trailer today, but I don't think it's going to get back on the trailer. If you look out the window, I'll show you out the window here, if it'll turn up or turn out. You can see there is the trailer. It's a 16-foot trailer frame. So we're going to get the axles painted. The one axle out there, I took it out yesterday. I wish I wouldn't have taken it out. Now it's getting soaked. But anyways, it doesn't matter. It's ready to go. I just got to bolt it onto the trailer. It's already painted. Got the springs on it, everything like that. This axle here, we're going to finish painting it, let it dry. Get the leaf springs painted. And then get the leaf springs bolted back onto the axle. We also got the hubs. We got the hubs off. Right here. So they're laying down on the floor. Let me see if I can get them in the camera. There they are. That's the ones I took off. That's the ones I took off, and I got another set underneath my bench that's already painted. I'll probably just put those back on. Just repack the bearings and put them back on. And then this thing, get these two axles back on and be ready for tires and wheels. And at that point, it's basically a roller, and we can start building the actual concession trailer. But that's where we're at right now. Like I said, I just basically started this last night. So took the axle off last night, got it in here, and started working on it. I'm gonna get the rest of this stuff painted up, let it dry, and we'll see what happens from there. So we're getting this axle and all the extra parts I got over there on the bench all painted up. So you can see the back side. This was the upside down. I had it flipped the other way, painted the top side. So if we flip this up, you can see. I'll kind of flip it a little bit. You can see all painted. We just got to finish up on the bottom on this, and then we got our springs over here. Our leaves, they're completely painted except the bottoms. The tops and the sides are all painted using Rust-Oleum. Found a can of this sitting on the shelf. I bought a bunch of this, or I bought a can of this a couple years ago, and I'm surprised at that. It was still good. And I got all my other pieces, the shackles and these things and everything. All that stuff's gonna get painted. And on my bolts, I'll replace all those. Some of them are probably pretty good, but they're old, and I'll just replace them. So I'll replace all the bolts. So that's what we got. I'll get the rest of the stuff painted up, and this axle should be ready to go back on the trailer. So it's the next day, and it's actually a nice day out. It's a little overcast, but it's nice and warm, and the sun's shining. But I was outside painting the frame of that trailer. I'll show you that, and then what else I got. I got the rest of the stuff painted in here. Almost ready to put these axles back on the trailer. So here's my axle here. It's completely painted, and it's dry to touch and everything. So that's ready to go back on. I pull out some hubs. I'll probably wait to put those on until it's on the trailer because it makes it really heavy to carry. So we got to get some U-bolts for this one too. We can put the springs on there painted. And then over here on the bench, everything over here is pretty much painted. I put a coat on these things over here, the back sides of those, so they're going to dry up here later on. This is all dry. And of course, I got to go buy some bolts. And here is my trailer. I started painting it. I ran out of paint. So I got the halfway up the back done on this side, and then all that side done the same amount on both sides. So we only got this front half to do, and then them center pieces there. I'll have to go pick up another can of paint. And then this is my other axle that I got. It's ready to go on. I just got to put my idler hubs on. Got a little bit of surface rust from laying outside in the rain yesterday. I'll clean that off with a wire wheel. This one here has got a little bit more than surface rust, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. But I imagine just put a wire wheel on it, and the friction of the bearings will clean the rest of it off. That's the plan anyways. I got my U-bolts. I got to get another pair of them U-bolts. I knew got to cut them off. I'll bring a cutoff saw, cut them bad boys off. And once this dries up, I'll go ahead and put these axles on. Got a set of tires here I'll throw on just to move it around. I'll have to pull them off and repaint those also. Clean them up and paint them. And I got up on the hill behind that building is the other 2 tires. I'll pull them down. And I'll have to replace the tires themselves, but that'll be down the road. I don't need that right now. So that's where we're sitting at. We ran out of paint. I got to go pick up some paint. Once I get that paint, we'll get these axles on, man, and we're almost ready to start putting a floor on this thing. So the bench is a mess, but that's a good thing. So we got our bolts. This is a 1/2-inch bolt here. I don't need that. Here's my new 5/8 bolts. The problem, we got a couple problems. We're going to try to get these axles on. We're going to get one axle on for sure. I went down to the tractor store and got bolts, but I need lock nuts like this is what I'm looking for. This is a 1/2-inch. These are obviously 5/8 bolts. That's what I need to do this. And they don't sell 5/8 lock nuts, or lock nuts, yeah. Like this. This is the biggest they sell, which is 1/2-inch. Obviously this is 5/8, so they don't sell that. So that's my first problem, is I don't got lock nuts. I got to figure out where I can find some lock nuts, because just putting these things on, they're going to come loose, obviously. You need lock nuts. The original ones didn't have lock nuts. I don't know how they kept them from coming loose, to be honest with you. They're just a normal nut. Torque them down, maybe? I don't know. I like the fact that you can put a lock nut on there. So we got to do that. So that's my first problem. I got to find lock nuts. But for now, we're going to put these on with these nuts. And when we find a lock nuts, we'll just switch them out. That's my first problem. Second problem is these things here. So this is what we got. Let me find one of my old ones. And this is what came off of it. So I took these ones off of the, these go inside the leaf springs and inside the shackles and stuff like that. And your bolt goes through that. My 5/8 bolt goes through that. I ordered these as a replacement because I lost a bunch of these when I took it apart. I took these axles apart a couple years ago. I misplaced a bunch of these off that first axle. So I'm basically missing 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, I believe, is what I'm missing. 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 8 of them. 4 for each side. So I bought these to replace them. Problem is, that hole isn't 5/8. So when my bolt goes to go down into it, it doesn't fit. It is super close. It's within a 1/16, but it does not fit. So I need to figure out a way to ream these holes out so these 5/8 bolts will fit down through it. Now these things here are a smidgen big to go inside the springs, but that's no big deal. I just take a flat disc and grind these ridges down a little bit until they slide in. That's an easy fix. But I need a 5/8 drill bit, and I don't have a 5/8 drill bit. Or a way to figure out how to get them reamed out. Take about a 1/16 of an inch off, maybe even a 32nd. It ain't much. It's tight. It'll start to screw down in. It just don't go down in. So that's the 2 problems that I got. Other than that, everything else is ready to go. So I'm going to take a bunch of these out, a bunch of these bolts out. We're going to use, like I said, these nuts for now. We're going to get one of the axles on, the front axle, I believe. We'll get it on and get it bolted down, and we'll go from there, I guess. So I got my bolts cut off here. I took a flap disc and cut those off. Here's about, well, that's about how much I cut off of them. So they were originally about that tall. So I cut those down, both sides, and I got my caps in, all 4 of my springs. And now I'm going to slide this thing under my frame. This is the front axle. We'll slide this under the frame, get ready to put the bolts in, get this one set up. And then once I got it set up, we're going to come back and deal with that rust on that spindle. That's gonna be fun, but we'll figure it out. We got the front axle on right here. Let me show you these bolts real quick. So everything's good to go over here. We're gonna clean this up a little bit. The other side's the bad side. I'll show you that in a second. Here's my bolts I'm talking about. And it's got plenty of thread. And I got them snug down. I don't got them cranked down or anything. I got them snug down. And I'm just not sure that that's not gonna back off even if I crank it down. That's why I wanted lock nuts on there. So we'll get some lock nuts. And this is just temporary. We'll put this on for now just to get this on here. When we get some lock nuts, we'll go ahead and you can see it there. We'll go ahead and switch them out, put the lock nuts on, and we'll be good to go. Snug them down with lock nuts, and it should be good. So we're on the other side, and this is a side that is pretty bad. I don't know how. This was inside the building. This was inside of my garage for like a year, and it just rusted like this. It wasn't like it was out in the weather. So I'm not even sure how that rusted that bad. But here's my plan with this thing. Obviously, I don't want to take metal off and make this any thinner. This has got to stay at this thickness. So I got a wire brush. I don't think that's going to do a whole lot of anything. If that don't do anything, which I don't expect it to, I got a wire wheel. That should take the majority of it off. I don't know if that's going to be enough. But what we'll do is we'll keep hitting it with a wire wheel. And then we'll bring up one of these bearings out. I got some bearings in there, and we'll keep sliding on until these bearings fit on here snug, the way they're supposed to fit. If I can talk, the way they're supposed to fit. And once we get that, then we'll call it good, and we'll clean all this stuff up here, and we should be good to go. If the wire wheel don't work, last resort, and I don't want to use it as a flap disc, but if the wire wheel can't get it to where the bearings will go on, then I'll take a flap disc, and that's a really worn flap disc. That needs straight away, and that's perfect, because it's less likely to take actual metal away, and it will take metal away if you ream on it, but that's the last resort. So let me try my wire brush and my wire wheel first and see what we got. So before I start working on this, I want to try something. I'll show you guys something. I got my bearings right here, and I'm going to go ahead and slide them on, see how loose or tight they really are. So this is the front bearing here. So it's going to go on that front right here. Let me see if I can get, yeah, right here. All right, so take that thing across, and yeah, it's definitely not going on there. So that don't go on, which I didn't think it would anyways. And I got my bigger rear bearing here. So let me see if I can get that thing to go on here. It'll go on over here. And it starts to go on, but obviously it's not going to go the whole way on. So there's not much to take off to get these things to slide on. I am surprised at how nice that thing cleaned up. I just took a wire wheel. I didn't even use the wire brush. I just took the wire wheel on the angle grinder and went to town on it, and it cleaned up almost brand new. Or it looks brand new anyways. So anyways, let me try these bearings. I don't think we'll have a problem with these bearings fitting. Here's my front bearing there. And let me see here. Oh, that's just a little snug. Just a little snug, but I think it'll be fine. I think we just tap it on with a hammer. It'll be fine. My big bearing, let's see here. Here's my big bearing, slide it back. Yeah, it goes on. Oh yeah, that'll work. All right, so I'm surprised, I really am. I'm happy it turned out that good. So I'm gonna take the angle grinder, run to the other side, clean it up real quick, and we're ready to put these hubs back on. So I got my two new idler hubs that's gonna go on that front axle we just put on. And that's a whole kit here, so I got two hubs, my 4 bearings, my 2 seals, 2 dust caps, and all the lug nuts. So the first thing we got to do is drop these rear bearings in, and then put the seals on, or put the seals in. Once they're in, then we can take it out and install them on the axles themselves. So we got these idler hubs on. I wanted to shoot some video of me putting them on, but it's pretty boring stuff. Just put bearings in, put a castle nut on, and put a cotter pin in, and they all spin and everything. We're good to go. So now, ready to put these wheels on. I'm just putting these wheels on now temporarily. Of course, I got to come back through, and we're going to clean these wheels up with a wire brush, and get these painted. On the back side look pretty nasty. Not too bad, I guess. Hit it with a wire wheel and get it all cleaned up, painted. Of course, we got to replace these tires. They're holding air and everything, but they're pretty old and they're dry rotted. They're starting to dry rot. For moving around the yard, they're fine, but I think if I drive them down the road at speed, they're a ticking time bomb. But I'm gonna go ahead and put these wheels on just so we have some way of moving it. I got the other wheel over there. And we're about done. Still waiting on U-bolts for that rear axle and finish painting the frame. But once we get the U-bolts to get the other axle on and the frame painted, we will be ready for putting a deck on this thing.